East is made up of many countries, China and India being the big countries with the largest populations, 1.3, 1.4 billion or so. Although both countries have different political systems, and one is running on a democracy, the other is running in a more communist structure. And then you have other countries, you have Japan, that's part of it, you have Indonesia, you have Vietnam and Thailand and other nations that make up the East. The East has some major differences to the West. The first is the fact that the East has very limited amounts of what we call technical debt or legacy. That's a big advantage. So they don't have tons and tons of infrastructure and old systems that they have to worry about to upgrade to the new. So their ability to pole vault into the digital age is much greater. They will jump higher heights because they have less burden. They have less technical burden or legacy burden of infrastructure or technology from yesterday. And whatever they do have is replaceable very, very quickly because it was joined together in a not so robust way, right? Because those countries were developing for a large part of the last century or so. So these countries have now naturally moved from a stage of developing into developed, and their economies have grown, the GDP has grown, the per capita income in these countries has grown quite rapidly. And as such, they've actually become markets. They've become commercially attractive markets for everyone, for the East and the business people of the East, the traders and the people in the money markets in the East, and also for the West. Okay, so the West is, I would say, grown to a point where it now needs to reconsider at an inflection point as to how it can continue to keep that growth trajectory in exponential mode or in rapid mode. And the East are absolutely free and liberated because they can pole vault. They don't have those dependencies anymore and that limitation. And as such, what's happening in the East is startup economies are growing, they're thriving. India, for example, produced 75 unicorns during the pandemic period. I mean, very close to England, which is astounding. There's more venture capital, more access to money, more acceptance of new technologies as well. Actually, blockchain, banking technologies, fintech, for example, they don't have the same legacy environment that the West has got, so they can actually innovate really, really quickly. Axis Bank is a good example of a bank in India that was doing video conferencing and human-to-human interfacing, customer service using bots way before a lot of the other banks on the planet, actually, because they literally just invented from day one. So the East has now that sense of freedom to go out there and innovate. And one of the big advantages of the East also is to do with the history of the East. When you're a developing country and you have a history of being poor, not having the per capita income that some of the developed countries have had, and then growing that, you see the different classes in the pyramid, the middle class in particular, start to expand and grow. You see urbanization, more people moving from rural parts to urban parts in search of jobs and opportunities. You see wages go up, you see people doing multiple jobs, you see skill sets going up. And obviously the government and the institutions need to provide education, healthcare, the right sort of training and skill set development for their population, for them to then move to the next rank, the next step, of course. And so what you're seeing therefore in India now is that you're seeing a rapid acceleration in aspirations. And when you see an acceleration in aspirations, the other thing India has on its side, and China as well, and all the other Eastern countries, because of what I've just said, is the fact that they have seen scarcity. They have experienced scarcity. They have seen the lack of, and the unique blend of scarcity and aspirations with imagination and hope and dreams all blended together gives you the grit, the stamina, the purpose the perseverance to follow that purpose, and then of course the passion that comes from wanting to be the best, wanting to prove a point, wanting to change the way it was to a better world. And often that's not only done for the self, for the person, it's also done for the community at large. And that's what makes what the East often refers to as inclusive innovation. Innovation that is more frugal, innovation that is about doing more with less, with more performance with less resources for more people, MLM. And that is what makes the East a really powerful setup today. And so digital is the meeting point. It's sort of where everyone meets, because we all now have access to digital technologies, all the way from new forms of bandwidth and connectivity with 5G and low, orbit satellites, to AI and machine learning capabilities. In fact, the East is pioneering a lot of that technology skill set, from the Indian Institute of Science to IIT to IIM, and in China, of course, without question, China's leading the charge on the AI front with the deployment of AI in real pragmatic cases, both in the government, in surveillance and facial recognition and intelligence on that side, and also in startup platforms or technology platforms like Alibaba, WeChat, and so on and so forth. And in India, you're seeing the same thing, where you're seeing fintech and banking transform overnight, literally. You're seeing the government get super involved with Startup India, Digital India programs, where the government is saying, yes, we want our talent to create for us. Because again, the East has also seen brain drain for many years. They've seen their best people leave India, leave China, leave other parts of Asia, and go to mostly the Americas and the West to make a name for themselves and to have more economic prosperity. And whilst that's been great for the Indian, it's not been so useful for the Indian economy and this ecosystem that India has. So India wants to retain their talent. They want to hold on to that brain. They don't want it to be drained away. And they're putting in place a lot of programs to do so. And so are the other Eastern countries.